You know what's crazy? Most of us are not fighting the world. We're fighting ourselves. It's not the people around you. It's not your circumstances. It's not even your past. It's you. You are standing in your own way. Every excuse, every doubt, every fear, every what if, that's you blocking you. You're holding yourself hostage when you were built to be free. You're playing small when you were designed to be great. And let me tell you something. Until you decide to move, nothing moves. You've been waiting for the right time, but there is no perfect time. You've been waiting for validation, but nobody is coming to save you. You've been waiting for clarity, but clarity comes through action. You've been waiting for the storm to pass, but maybe the storm is you, your hesitation, your fear, your comfort zone. Sometimes the biggest obstacle between you and your dream is the person staring back at you in the mirror. You talk yourself out of opportunities. You tell yourself, I'm not ready. I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. You let your doubts drive your destiny, and deep down, you know it's not life that's holding you back. It's your mindset. You keep replaying old failures in your head like a broken record, but you never hit the eject button. You're scared of rejection, scared of failing again, scared of looking foolish. But listen, every person who's ever done something great had to get over themselves first. They had to kill that voice that said, you can't. You have greatness inside of you, but it's buried under layers of fear and hesitation. You've got to dig it out. You've got to move past the overthinking, past the perfectionism, past the pain. Stop blaming your past for your pause. Stop letting your comfort zone become your cage. Your potential is waiting, but it can't move until you do. You've got to believe that you deserve the next level even before you see it, because belief is what breaks the chains. You are not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because you're in your own way. You're doubting the very thing that makes you different. You're overthinking what the world will say. But let me tell you, the world doesn't remember the ones who stayed safe. It remembers the ones who dared to move. So, get out of your head and into your purpose. Get out of your fears and into your faith. Get out of your excuses and into your execution. Stop standing on the edge of your greatness and start jumping into it. You've been playing defense long enough. It's time to play offense with your life. Life isn't waiting for you, it's watching you. Watching if you'll rise. Watching if you'll show up. Watching if you'll move when it's hard. The moment you get out of your way, you'll realize the path was clear all along. It wasn't blocked. It was you. So today, make a decision. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now, say, I'm done being the reason I don't rise, because you are not your fear. You are not your past. You are not your excuses. You are powerful, capable, chosen, and ready. You've just got to get out of your own way. And once you do, nothing in this world can stop you. You are your biggest obstacle. The enemy isn't out there. It's inside your head. Excuses build walls around potential. Everybody keeps you locked in a cage. Fear disguises itself as logic. It whispers comfort while stealing your calling. Overthinking is the assassin of action. Stop analyzing and start moving. Your comfort zone is your silent killer. Growth never happens where you feel safe. You can't be full of fear and faith at the same time. Choose one and let it drive you. Perfection is procrastination in disguise. Start messy, but start now. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. Stop reliving what you should have released. Action breeds clarity. You don't think your way into success. You move your way there. Once you get out of your own way, you become unstoppable. Because when the inner war ends, the outer world opens. You are your biggest obstacle. It's not your parents, not your boss, not your circumstances, not even your past. It's you. You've been standing in your own way for too long. You've been doubting yourself, second-guessing your worth, questioning your abilities, and talking yourself out of opportunities that were designed to change your life. You've been carrying fear like it's part of your identity, when in truth it's just a habit you learned. And until you face that truth, until you confront the fact that the person holding you back isn't someone else, it's you, you'll keep living small when greatness is waiting on the other side of your hesitation. You can't fight an enemy you refuse to face. And for most people, that enemy isn't out there. It's in the mirror. It's that voice that tells you, you can't do it. It's that whisper that says, what if you fail? It's the hesitation that comes right before you're about to leap. You see, the real war isn't fought in the world. It's fought in your mind. The world only reflects the story you tell yourself. And if you keep telling yourself you're not enough, then every opportunity will look too big, every dream will feel too far, and every challenge will seem impossible. But the truth is, you're not fighting the world. You're fighting your reflection of it. I know what it's like to stand in your own way, to feel the weight of self, doubt pressing against every dream inside you, to want something so badly, but still talk yourself out of it because of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of failing again. But hear this, fear is a liar. Fear is a master manipulator. It makes you believe you're protecting yourself when really you're just preventing yourself from becoming who you're meant to be. Fear doesn't stop you from dying. It stops you from living, and that's the real tragedy. So many people spend their lives trapped in cages they built with their own hands. Cages made of excuses, of comfort, of insecurity. They say, I'll do it when I'm ready. But they never feel ready. They say, I'll try when things calm down. But life never calms down. They say, I'm waiting for a sign. The sign is now. The door isn't locked. You're just too afraid to push it open. The world isn't against you. It's waiting for you. Waiting for you to move. Waiting for you to trust yourself. Waiting for you to get out of your own way. And that's the thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know every step. You just have to take the first one. You have to believe in yourself enough to try. Because the moment you start moving, life starts responding. Momentum begins to build. And suddenly, what felt impossible starts to feel within reach. But none of that happens until you stop sabotaging yourself with doubt, fear, and hesitation. You can't win the race if you're the one tying your own shoes together. You've got to stop letting your inner critic dictate your destiny. Stop letting your fears narrate your future. Stop waiting for permission to be great. Nobody's coming to give it to you. You've had it all along. It's your birthright to rise. It's your responsibility to grow. And if you want to go to the next level, you've got to stop arguing for your limitations. Every time you say, I can't, you're reinforcing the wall that stands between you and your potential. Every time you say, maybe later, you're pushing your dream one more day into the distance. And one day, that distance becomes a lifetime. You have to realize what you allow, you teach yourself to tolerate. If you keep feeding your fears, your confidence will starve. If you keep replaying your failures, your faith will fade. But if you start speaking to yourself with courage, with belief, with hunger, you'll start to feel that shift. Because it's not the external battle that defines your life. It's the internal one. Once you win that, everything else falls in line. You've been given everything you need to succeed. Talent, passion, purpose, potential. But you can't use any of it if you keep standing in your own way. You've got to stop being your own opponent and start being your own ally. You've got to silence the doubt and amplify the voice that says, I can. You've got to wake up every day and remind yourself that you're not here to play small. You're here to make an impact. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Growth always is. But discomfort means you're moving. It means you're breaking through the walls that kept you trapped. It means you're finally stepping into the version of yourself that's been waiting. And once you taste that freedom, once you see what happens when you stop fighting yourself, you'll never go back. You'll realize the only thing that ever stood between you and greatness was you. So get out of your head. Get out of your excuses. Get out of your fear. And get out of your own way. Because the moment you do, that's the moment everything starts to change. Excuses build walls around potential. Every excuse you tell yourself is another brick you lay between you and the life you're supposed to be living. And the crazy thing is, most people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're being logical. They think they're being realistic. But what they're really doing is building barriers made of reasons, doubts, and fears. Every, I can't. Every, I'll do it later. Every, it's not the right time. That's another brick. And before they know it, they're trapped inside a wall of their own creation, wondering why life feels so small. Excuses are dangerous because they sound so reasonable. They sound smart. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't know the right people. I'm too old. I'm too young. I've tried before. They sound like facts, but they're not. They're fears dressed up in logic. They're comfort zones pretending to be wisdom. Excuses don't protect you. They imprison you. They keep you comfortable, but comfort has never created greatness. Comfort keeps you breathing, but hunger keeps you alive. Let me tell you something. You will never find a successful person who made excuses their foundation. You'll find people who had less time than you, less education than you, less support than you, and yet they made it happen. They found a way. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the stars to align. They didn't wait for someday. They decided. They acted. They committed. And that's what separates those who rise from those who remain. Because success doesn't respond to excuses. It responds to execution. Excuses are easy. They feel safe. They let you off the hook. They whisper, it's not your fault. But deep down, you know the truth. Every time you make an excuse, a part of you dies a little. A part of your dream fades. A part of your fire cools down. And the saddest thing is, people start believing their own excuses. They convince themselves that life is unfair, that the odds are too high, that their dream is impossible. But the truth is, and the only thing impossible is making progress while standing still. You see, excuses are comfortable lies that keep you from facing uncomfortable truths. It's easier to say, I can't, than to admit, I'm afraid. It's easier to blame circumstances than to take responsibility. But the moment you own your choices, truly own them, that's when the game changes. Because once you take ownership, you take power. You can't control everything, but you can control how you respond. You can control whether you sit in fear or stand in faith. You can control whether you build walls or build bridges. When you stop making excuses, you start building momentum. You stop waiting for the right time and realize the right time is whenever you decide to start. You stop seeing obstacles as barriers and start seeing them as opportunities to grow. You stop saying, I'll try, and start saying, I will, because try is a word people use when they're giving themselves an escape route. But when you say, I will, there's no back door, no exit plan, there's just focus and fire. Excuses will always be available. You'll always have a reason to wait. You'll always find a justification to stay the same. But those who achieve greatness are the ones who run out of excuses and start running toward their purpose. They decide that their dream matters more than their comfort, that their future matters more than their fear. And once you reach that point, that no excuse zone, something powerful happens inside you. You start moving differently. You start thinking differently. You start believing differently. When you wake up and say, no more excuses, you take back your power. You stop giving life permission to limit you. You stop letting circumstances define you. You stop handing your future over to fear. Because excuses don't just stop progress. They steal identity. They make you forget what you're capable of. They convince you that you're ordinary when you were born extraordinary. So I want you to think, What excuses have been standing between you and your next level? What stories have you been telling yourself to justify your hesitation? I don't have the resources. Then find resourcefulness. I don't have support. Then support yourself until others join in. I don't have experience. Then, starting away, experience comes from doing. Stop telling yourself you need more to begin. What you need is already within you. Courage, commitment, and consistency. Life will always test your excuses. It will challenge you to see if your dream means enough to you to fight past them. And when you finally push through, when you finally say, enough, you'll realize that the wall you thought was blocking you was never real. It was made of words, of fear, of doubt, and the moment you stop feeding it, it disappears. Excuses are the language of limitation, but action is the voice of transformation. So stop speaking defeat into your destiny. Stop narrating your own struggle story. Tear down that wall brick by brick, excuse by excuse, and step into the freedom that's been waiting for you all along. Because the only thing standing between who you are and who you're meant to be is the excuse you keep believing. Fear disguises itself as logic. It's clever. It doesn't come to you shouting or screaming. It comes whispering, reasoning, sounding rational. It says things like, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe you should wait until you're more prepared. Maybe you should play it safe. It sounds like wisdom, but it's not. It's fear wearing a suit. It's fear pretending to be common sense. And the problem is, most people can't tell the difference. They confuse fear with logic, and before they know it, they've reasoned themselves right out of their destiny. Fear will make you sound smart while keeping you stuck. It'll tell you all the reasons something won't work, all the ways it could go wrong, all the potential risks. And yes, fear feels responsible. It feels protective. But really it's restrictive. It doesn't want you to grow. It wants you to stay comfortable. It doesn't want you to rise. It wants you to remain. And the truth is, most people never reach their full potential, not because they lack talent, but because they listen to fear disguised as logic. You can justify your fear all day long. You can explain it, defend it, even rationalize it. But at the end of the day, no matter how smart it sounds, fear always leads to the same place. Nowhere. You stay in the same job you hate because it's secure. You stay in the same environment that drains you because it's familiar. You stay silent about your dream because it's not the right moment. And all the while, your spirit starves. Your dream dies in your hands. Not because you didn't care enough, but because you thought your fear was protecting you. You've got to learn to separate fear from truth. Fear will tell you what's dangerous, but it'll also lie about what's possible. It will magnify every potential problem until it paralyzes you. But truth reminds you that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move anyway. Truth says, I may be afraid, but I'm still capable. Truth says, it might be hard, but I've handled hard before. The more you listen to truth, the quieter fear becomes. But if you keep giving fear the microphone, it'll narrate your whole life, and it'll sound convincing. Think about how many dreams never see daylight because fear convinced someone they weren't ready. Think about how many lives could have been changed if someone didn't let logic talk them out of purpose. You'll always find a logical reason to wait. You'll always find a logical reason to doubt. But what you have to realize is that fear's favorite weapon is delay. It doesn't need to stop you. It just needs to slow you down. It tells you, just not today. And before you know it, not today becomes not ever. The mind is powerful. It can build you or break you. And if you let fear sit in the driver's seat, it will take you in circles, back to the same place over and over again. It will keep you rehearsing the worst outcomes, keep you reliving the past, keep you predicting failure. But here's the thing, fear's predictions aren't prophecies. They're projections. They're not what will happen. They're what fear wants you to believe will happen. So you've got to question that voice. Every time it says, you can't, ask, who says? Every time it says, it's too risky, ask, what if it works? You've got to flip the conversation. You see, logic without faith becomes limitation. Yes, be wise. Yes, plan. But don't let planning become paralysis. Don't let reasoning become your prison. You can be strategic without being scared. You can be thoughtful without being timid. Because there's a difference between preparation and procrastination, and fear hides inside that difference. It tells you to wait for the right time, but there is no perfect time. The right time is when you decide you're done letting fear drive your choices. Fear doesn't show up to destroy you. It shows up to test you. It shows up to see how badly you want it. It's not there to stop you. It's there to see if you'll stop yourself. Every person who has ever accomplished anything significant has heard that same voice of fear. The only difference is they didn't obey it. They felt it and moved anyway. They recognized it for what it was, a disguise, a distraction, a test. So stop giving fear permission to sound smart. Stop letting it hide behind excuses, behind logic, behind caution. You already know the truth. You already know what you want to do. You already know what's been pulling at your heart. And if you're waiting for the fear to disappear before you move, you'll be waiting forever. Fear doesn't leave before faith. It leaves because of faith. The voice of fear will always be there, whispering in your ear and pretending to protect you. But the voice of purpose will be louder if you listen. And once you decide that fear no longer gets to disguise itself as wisdom, once you decide to trust your faith more than your fear, you'll see how small those doubts really were. Because on the other side of fear is not danger, it's destiny. So stop reasoning yourself into regret. Stop letting fear sound logical. Feel it, face it, and move through it. Because that's where your freedom lies. You can't keep blaming the world for what's not working in your life. You can't keep pointing fingers at the economy, at your parents, at your boss, at your past, or at your circumstances. Because the truth is, the moment you start blaming, you give away your power. You hand over control to everything outside of you, and you trap yourself in a mindset that says, I'm not responsible for where I am. But listen, as long as you're not responsible, you're not in control. And if you're not in control, you can't change anything. The hardest truth to accept is that your life is the result of your choices, not your conditions. Your decisions shape your destiny more than your circumstances ever will. Yes, you may not have chosen where you started, but you have full power over where you're going. Too many people are waiting for something or someone to come along and make things right. A lucky break, a miracle, a change of government, a helping hand. But waiting keeps you stuck. Blaming keeps you powerless. The moment you take responsibility, that's the moment your life starts to shift. Responsibility is not about guilt or shame. It's about ownership. It's about saying, this is my life, and no matter what has happened to me, I choose what happens next. Because life will hand you pain, disappointment, setbacks. It's guaranteed. But it's not the pain that defines you, it's what you do with it. Some people take their pain and build excuses. Others take that same pain and build strength. The same fire that burns one person can forge another. And the only difference between the two is whether they take ownership of their response. See, the moment you start saying, it's my fault, not in a way of self-blame, but in self-empowerment, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting for a rescue. You stop hoping for a miracle. You start creating your own change. Because when you take responsibility, you stop being a victim and become a creator. You realize that the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't get there. I've met people who've been through things that would break most. People who had every reason to give up, every excuse to quit, but they didn't. Why? Because they refused to let their story define them. They decided that even if life had knocked them down, it wasn't going to keep them there. They stopped saying, "Why me?" and started saying, "What now?" They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created their own momentum. That's what responsibility does. It gives you power over your own narrative. Some people carry their excuses like armor, thinking it protects them from failure. But what it really does is protect them from growth. When you're constantly defending your reasons for not doing something, you're building a cage around your potential. You can't move forward because you're too busy proving why you can't. You'll say things like, "I can't do this because I don't have support. I can't win because I started too late. I can't change because I've already messed up too much." But those are not facts. Those are stories. And the more you repeat them, the more you believe them. But let me tell you something powerful. You can rewrite your story. You can tear down every excuse you've built, every justification you've clung to, and start fresh today. You don't need permission to change. You don't need approval to rise. You just need to decide that you're done being in your own way. Because sometimes it's not the world holding you back. It's your unwillingness to take charge of your own life. Taking responsibility means facing yourself. It means looking in the mirror and saying, "If my life is going to change, it's up to me." That's not easy. That takes courage, because it's much easier to point outward than to look inward. But that's where real growth begins. That's where power lies. Not in controlling what happens to you, but in mastering how you respond to it. And when you do that, when you take that ownership, something shifts in your spirit. You start walking differently. You start thinking differently. You stop complaining about what you don't have and start maximizing what you do have. You stop envying what others are doing and start focusing on what's in your hands. You stop waiting for the world to change and realize you are the change. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about progress. You may stumble. You may make mistakes. You may even fall flat on your face. But if you take responsibility, you'll always rise again, because responsibility builds resilience. Responsibility fuels growth. And responsibility keeps you from being stuck in a story that no longer serves you. So stop blaming. Stop waiting. Stop looking for reasons why it can't happen. Because as long as you're finding reasons, you'll never find results. Take ownership of your story. Take responsibility for your growth. Take control of your future. Because when you do, you'll realize you've had the power all along. You know, one of the greatest battles we'll ever fight isn't with other people. It's not with the competition. It's not even with the circumstances around us. It's with the voice inside our own head. That little whisper that keeps saying, "You're not enough." That whisper that says, "You can't do it. You're too late. You've failed too many times." That voice that keeps reminding you of your past, your pain, your mistakes. That's the real enemy. Because until you silence that voice, you'll always be standing in your own way. So many people never step into their potential because they're living in a prison built by their own thoughts. They keep reliving old failures, replaying old conversations, rehearsing pain that should have been released a long time ago. They wake up every day carrying yesterday's weight and wondering why they can't move forward. You can't walk into your future when you're dragging the past behind you. At some point, you've got to let go. You've got to tell yourself, that chapter is over. Because if you don't close the door on your past, you'll never walk into your destiny. You've got to stop feeding your fear and start feeling your faith. Fear will keep you comfortable, but faith will make you courageous. Fear will whisper all the reasons you shouldn't try, and faith will remind you of all the reasons you must. When you let fear drive your decisions, you shrink. When you let faith lead, you expand. You start seeing possibility where others see problems. You start believing that maybe, just maybe, something good could come out of what broke you. You've got to stop letting your mistakes define your identity. What you did is not who you are. You made a bad decision. That doesn't make you a bad person. You failed. That doesn't make you a failure. Every champion has a chapter that looks like defeat. Every success story has a season that looked hopeless. But the difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise is that they refuse to let the pain of the past predict the promise of their future. When you make peace with your past, you reclaim your power. You stop living as a victim of what was, and start creating what can be. You stop saying, why did this happen to me? And start saying, what can I learn from this? Because everything you've been through was preparing you for something greater. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the rejection, all of it. You may not have seen it then, but every storm was shaping you, stretching you, strengthening you for this very moment. You've got to forgive yourself. That's where freedom begins. You can't keep carrying guilt and expect to rise. You can't keep holding yourself hostage for who you used to be. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time, and now you know better. So, do better. But don't punish yourself for not knowing back then what you know now. Self-forgiveness is not about letting yourself off the hook. It's about unchaining yourself from the pain that keeps you from growing. And when you forgive yourself, you give yourself permission to evolve. You start realizing you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep moving. You have to keep showing up, keep believing, keep fighting for the version of you that's buried beneath all that doubt. Because that version, the real you, is still in there, waiting. Hoping you'll stop listening to the voice that says you can't, and start listening to the one that whispers, you can. You've got to talk to yourself differently. Speak life into your dreams. Speak power into your pain. Speak vision into your chaos. You've got to look in the mirror and say, I'm not who I used to be. I'm not my past. I'm not my mistakes. I am growing. I am learning. I am becoming. Because your words shape your world. If you keep telling yourself you're broken, you'll never heal. But if you start telling yourself you're becoming, you'll start to rise. Sometimes you've got to separate yourself from environments that keep feeding your doubt. Because you can't heal in the same place that broke you. You can't believe in yourself if you're surrounded by people who constantly remind you of your limits. Get around people who see your potential, not your problems. Get around people who push you to grow, not keep you small. Because sometimes the loudest doubters are the ones closest to you. And if you're not careful, their voices will become your own. You've got to start seeing yourself the way your purpose sees you. Strong, capable, chosen enough. Stop measuring yourself by the mistakes you've made and start measuring yourself by the distance you've traveled. You've come a long way. You've survived what others couldn't. You're still here, still fighting, still believing. Don't you dare forget that. The moment you silence that voice of doubt, everything begins to change. The world doesn't have to move first. You do. Your situation doesn't have to shift. Your mindset does. The limits you see aren't walls. They're reflections of your own beliefs. Change your thoughts and you'll change your world. Because the truth is, it was never you that was broken. It was your belief about yourself. Fix that, and you'll realize you were never really stuck. You were just standing in your own way. Most people never realize that the biggest walls, keeping them from their dreams, aren't made of concrete, steel, or glass. They're made of comfort. That's right. Comfort is the quiet killer of potential. It's soft, it's cozy, it's easy, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because the more comfortable you become, the less you grow. The more you settle, and the more your hunger fades. And when that hunger fades, your dreams start dying silently inside you. Comfort will whisper in your ear, you've done enough. It'll tell you, you don't need to push any harder. You don't have to take that risk. You can do it tomorrow. And you start listening to it. Not because you don't want more, but because it feels good to rest there. It feels safe. But safe doesn't change your life. Safe doesn't build legacy. Safe doesn't make history. Growth never happens in comfort. The moment you start to grow, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to stretch you. It's going to make you doubt yourself. It's going to challenge everything you believe about what's possible. Because that's what growth does. It demands that you leave behind the familiar version of yourself to become someone new. Think about it. Every time you've grown in your life, it was never easy. The moments that built you the most were the ones that tested you the hardest. The pain, the pressure, the uncertainty, that's what shaped your strength. But we've been conditioned to avoid discomfort, to run from anything that hurts, to stay where it feels safe. And that's why so many people live their entire lives in the middle of almost. Almost happy, almost successful, almost fulfilled. Because the price of going all in was just a little too uncomfortable. You've got to understand, comfort and purpose can't coexist. You can't have both. If you choose comfort, you'll lose purpose. If you chase purpose, you'll have to let go of comfort. The path to your destiny isn't paved with ease, it's paved with effort. It's full of long nights, early mornings, doubts, sacrifices, and hard choices. But the reward on the other side makes every ounce of discomfort worth it. You've got to stop negotiating with your dream. Stop saying, I'll give 50% today and maybe I'll give 100% tomorrow. Dreams don't work like that. They demand your full attention, your full heart, your full courage. You've got to get to a place where you say, I'm tired of being comfortable. I'm tired of watching life pass me by. I'm tired of standing on the sidelines when I know there's more in me. Sometimes life will force you out of your comfort zone. Through pain, through loss, through failure. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You'll look back one day and realize that the moments that made you the most uncomfortable were the ones that made you the strongest. You'll realize that the things that once scared you became the very things that built your confidence. But you don't have to wait for life to push you. You can push yourself. You can choose to stretch beyond what's easy. You can choose to take that leap before the fear turns into regret. Because regret is far more painful than risk. The what if that lingers in your mind will haunt you longer than the failure ever could. Discomfort is a teacher, one that most people ignore. It teaches you resilience, patience, focus, and faith. It teaches you what you're truly capable of. When everything's easy, you never find out how strong you are. But when things get tough and you refuse to quit, that's when you discover your power. That's when you learn that you can handle more than you thought. Don't run from discomfort. Use it. When fear rises up, that's your sign that you're in the right place. Because fear shows up when you're getting close to something meaningful. It doesn't appear when you're wasting time. It appears when you're about to grow. So instead of letting fear stop you, let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you're alive, that you're stretching, that you're becoming. Every time you step into something uncomfortable, you're breaking an old version of yourself. You're proving that you can go further, do more, and become more. You're rewriting the limits that you once believed were permanent. And the more you do it, the stronger you become. The very things that used to scare you start to lose their power over you. If you want to live a life that matters, you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You've got to step into situations that make your knees shake, that make your heart race, that make your mind question if you're ready. Because that's where transformation happens. That's where growth lies. You'll never discover your potential sitting in the comfort zone. You'll never know what you're capable of until you push yourself past what feels safe. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die, and the growth zone is where destiny begins to breathe. So if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, good. That means you're growing. That means you're stretching. That means you're on the path to something greater. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because your next level won't meet you where it's easy. It'll meet you where it's uncomfortable.